So moving on to some of the opportunities, some of that data leads us, and some additional data leads us to really believe that there's two very big clean energy opportunities potentially for Eastern North Carolina. And the first one is energy efficiency. And I want to talk about some of the data that we see that makes us believe this is a very large opportunity. This is some data of a typical residential customer and a typical commercial customer in the state of North Carolina, and the average annual bill that they would pay over the course of 1 year. As I mentioned, the investor-owned utilities are Duke, Progress, and Dominion, but then there's also the electric membership corporations or the cooperatives that exist throughout the state, and municipal service providers. And I draw your attention on the residential side. You can see that if you're a residence served by an investor-owned utility, your bill at the end of the year is much lower than your counterparts being served by municipal or cooperative service provider. Part of that's because of the rates, but for cooperative customers, it's also because they're consuming more electricity than the average household in the other settings. If you look at the commercial customers, the cooperatives typically operate in rural areas. 91% of their customer base is residential customers. I think that the annual expense for that one's somewhat of an outlier, but if you look at, if you're served by a municipal customer and your commercial customer relative to what your competitors served by Duke, Progress, or Dominion are, you're paying a whole lot more per year, about $1,500 more than your competitors that are being served by Duke or Progress. So there's some noteworthy trends when folks have high rates or high annual bills. It creates opportunities for renewable energy and energy efficiency solutions that have quicker paybacks to make them attractive. Further drawing upon that, this map here shows the membership corporations. So I mentioned that the residential customers in these areas consume more electricity and have high rates. Geographically, 61% of the land mass in North Carolina is served by these customers. We are a regulated electric state in North Carolina, and what that means is depending on where you are, you don't have a choice of who your electric service provider is. Everybody has a franchise of who they serve, so if you move into a co-op territory, the cooperative is the electric service provider that you must use. So you can't move over to Duke or Progress because they might have lower rates. And what you'll see is that in Eastern North Carolina here, much of the land mass is served by cooperatives at this time. So this is a new graph. This is also the municipal service providers that exist in North Carolina. You see further up north, we have a large number of municipal service providers in Eastern North Carolina as well. And the final piece to this energy efficiency puzzle, and why we think it's a noteworthy piece. I don't have data yet for all of the eastern counties, but this is some of the ones that I do have. In this process of this new publication we're working on, we're calling it the Clean Energy Data Book. One of the things we discovered was that prior to 1975, there was no installation requirement for residences in the North Carolina building code. So if the home has not been renovated since 1975, there's a good chance that home might not have any insulation behind its walls, and is an excellent candidate for some energy efficiency retrofits. That homeowner is probably also paying tremendous electric bills because they have no insulation in their house. So we are able to look at, from census data, look at homes prior to 1970 and get a sense of how much housing stock is there, using that as a proxy for how many buildings probably need some retrofits. And you can see 4 counties here. There's thousands of homes that occur in every county. Some of the counties have quite a high percentage of homes that were built prior to 1970. Robinson County, 30%. Some of the counties up in the Northeast, we see similar high percentages. I don't have data for manufactured housing here in the southeastern part of North Carolina. A very high percentage of the homes are manufactured homes, which are typically less efficient than newer or more traditional homes. So again, another tremendous opportunity for energy efficiency retrofits. The housing stock and opportunities are there. There's certainly questions about discretionary income and can customers afford that, but there's a lot of work to be done in a lot of homes in Eastern North Carolina. We are seeing a trend towards this in North Carolina, at least for new construction. Energy Star, that program I mentioned earlier, Energy Star qualified new homes accounted for 19% of new homes in 2009. And In 2010, that number jumped up to 23%. So in Raleigh, there's a lot of conversations about the building code going on, and builders that, on the new construction side that are doing this, are seeing a lot of opportunities, a lot of growth in their business, and are finding the skills and tools and skill sets that they have valuable and people are paying for in the marketplace. When you move back to the retrofitting side, there's Reginald Spike was mentioned earlier. He's one of our board members, and he does a lot of work in low-income households, which is a very important opportunity. There's some research that's been done elsewhere that says folks in North Carolina that are 50% of the poverty level, over 50% of their annual income is spent on household energy needs. So that doesn't even include transportation, but a huge amount of these families' annual income is going towards just paying their heating bill, primarily during the winter. There's other research that's been done in the Southeast that says working with these low-income households and doing weatherization in their homes has a tremendous positive economic impact on these communities. The figures from 4 Southeast states have the economic multiplier for the community 2.7 times higher than what bringing manufacturing to the community is. So there's a sustaining economic growth that can occur in the community if low-income weatherization occurs. So that's one of the areas where we see a lot of opportunity. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen, but a great place to be looking and making sure that our workforce is able to deliver these opportunities. The other one I mentioned is offshore wind. And without going into a lot of detail, this is a wind map for North Carolina. It shows the wind resource. If you get to the yellow, that's potential areas where a utility scale developer might start looking, and if you go up to the deeper colors, the reds, the purples, the blues. This map doesn't show where the resource is very well. You can see a little bit in the coastal area. And then in the western part of the state, along our ridge lines, there's a significant amount of wind resource there. Where we start seeing, well, actually, if you look at the upper northeast, there is one project that has been proposed. It's the Desert Wind Project. It's proposed by a company called Iberdrola. They're a Spanish firm, but they have a US-based folks, and they have put 2,000 acres under lease up in the northeast. They're looking to develop a 300 megawatt wind project. This project, if built at 300 megawatts, would be the second largest wind project on the East Coast. It would consist of 150 turbines, each being 2 megawatts in capacity. That 2,000 acres that they lease, only about 1 to 2% would actually be used for roads or parking or turbines or maintenance buildings. So the actual development is not all 2,000 acres that are developed. They're going through the permitting process right now. They have an application from the North Carolina Utilities Commission. They're talking to over a dozen other regulatory agencies, both at the state and federal level, and they're hoping to start construction early next year and finish next year as well. Some of the filings, economic developers have noted that this is the single largest investment from a corporation in that part of the state ever. It's a $750 million investment. Landowners are anticipating to be paid $6,000 per turbine per year for folks that are part of the project and are leasing the land to the company. And from what I understand, it has in general strong public support. You'll see a large job number that comes out of it. That's typically construction jobs, probably 400 to 500 construction jobs. Those are pretty short term. There'll be 15 to 20 well-paying operation and maintenance jobs that come off that project. Opportunities are that we might see a few more onshore wind projects, but a lot of the opportunity and potential economic benefit is offshore. This is basically a summary map from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill that has done an extensive survey of the wind resource off the coast. And the areas that you see that have ocean blue background, those are areas where there's some sort of conflict of use. Either the military does training there, drops bombs, there's shipping lanes, environmental concerns, anything that would be problematic for development. And what's left are the colored areas. And as you move from yellow to the greens, that's where the wind resource gets stronger and stronger. So North Carolina, before you take into account potential conflicts, has the largest wind resource along the East Coast of any East Coast state. This boils it down and takes into account some of the potential conflicts, and it's still a tremendous resource that has potential to be developed. What a lot of states along the East Coast are really looking at and interested in is the manufacturing. The challenge with offshore wind is that these machines are going to be so big that they cannot be built onshore and shipped. The pieces will be so long that they won't be able to be moved on our roads, our rail system. So a lot of the manufacturing is going to happen right at the port. Those pieces will be picked up, put on a boat, and then floated out to whatever sites that they're going to be at, whether it's off North Carolina or somewhere else off the Northeast. We were talking earlier about the Port of Wilmington. Port of Wilmington is certainly in the running for a place to do some of these manufacturings, but Morehead City also is certainly in the running. There's a number of criteria that manufacturers are looking for in ports. Morehead City stacks up pretty well in some of the elements that they're looking for. These decisions, investment decisions, are probably going to be made in the next year or two along the East Coast. The manufacturers are waiting to see that there's actually an industry that's going to form, or enough to at least set up a manufacturing facility. And then there's going to be a lot of jobs that come somewhere along the East Coast. They won't all go to one state. The entire East Coast is likely to see economic development from this, but it will certainly be clustered in certain areas. And so the question is, can North Carolina attract some of that to have a manufacturing base here that contributes to this industry? When you think of some of the pieces that go into a turbine, a lot of it is fiberglass. With the boat building industry that's in the state of North Carolina, there's a lot of expertise and transferable skills into this industry. So it's certainly an opportunity, but it's an emerging industry that right now there is no water-based turbines in the U.S. So it's at the front, but has potential to be quite large going forward. So with that, one last thing I would mention, just because a lot of people, when they think of clean energy, think of solar. There is a lot of solar energy development. For Eastern North Carolina, there is a piece of legislation that my organization is working on this year. It would allow third-party sales of electricity. If that were to happen, it would allow a business to come to your home or a community college or a small business and say, I would like to put up a solar panel and sell you electricity. I will own it. I will incur the large capital investment up front. Right now, that type of business model is not allowed in the state of North Carolina because of the regulated industry of the regulated nature of the electric industry in North Carolina. If that were to happen, I think you would see more opportunities for solar in Eastern North Carolina. But again, that would be a policy shift that would have to occur before that's probably a bigger opportunity for this region. So I will stop there and happy to answer any questions.
Has there been any activity on the high altitude wind turbines?
There's a company, they're based out of Raleigh called Windlift, and they've got a kite technology that I know they've partnered a lot with the military to look at, and they come out here to the east to test it. But I'm not aware of much other beyond that. I think there's some entrepreneurial type of interest in that activity, but a GE or Siemens doesn't have any technologies of that nature.
Is there anyone seriously considering using ocean current?
Yes, there is. Not that I'm aware of in North Carolina. I think the first major commercial project was just recently signed either in the West Coast or somewhere else in the world. If you rank the maturity of technologies along a scale, ocean technology is further behind or has greater maturity to catch up to something like solar and wind at this point. So there's a lot of people interested in that, looking at that. Just the technology is at price points that is much more prohibitive than some of the other renewable technologies that are out there today.
It looks like this is a leadership for businesses. Do you have a way for educators or student groups to join?
We are a membership-based organization, and we have both individual and business membership categories. So there's certainly ways to engage. We also do events throughout the state of North Carolina, so that's another opportunity, whether a business, individual or business member or non-member, to partner and engage. And I work on workforce development issues, and if there's a way that my organization, myself, can help with a lot of the conversations that are happening in your community, certainly happy to explore those opportunities and how we can assist.
Just want to add to that, Paul, that Wake Expo